me because it's my secret sorrow that I suffer from a crippling lack of self-confidence and a dread of public speaking. But here goes. First of all, can I thank you for all coming today? This is a slightly serious bit. It's great to see so many people from my past, flashbacks from my career, people who've travelled far and wide. Cooper woman, where have you come from?
All the way from Wimbledon.
Wimbledon, the Royal Borough of Sutton Coldfield. Janet Fortune, she's a near neighbour of mine. We used to have to stop our dog pooing on her drive. John McGuigan, it's very good of him to drag himself away from one of his business lunches. As he's alluded to, I had to get European grant for a number of his pet projects in the past. After all, which other senior council officer would have managed to get grant to fund a new football ground for his team and his own hotel where he could wine and dine family and friends, discount rates for everyone. And thanks to Carl for coming. I didn't realise how close I was to the sack all those times. Probably just as well. And then his friends come from Birmingham, well, ex-Birmingham, the Pensioners Club. Trevor, Jeff, and my ex-boss Rebecca, the tall one. She's just and yes, lots of you, so thank you. I don't think it's just the food and wine that's brought you here, though I'm sure that helped. 2013 seems to have been the year for European monarchs hanging up their boots. First there was Queen Beatrix of Holland, then the King of the Belgians, and now it's the Queen of Europe herself abdicating. But why, I hear you cry, you have so much still to offer. Well, when you've worked at the frenetic pace that I have for 25 years, you eventually suffer burnout. You can only give for so long, and I didn't want to get to the point where people said, that Amanda, she needs taking out the team. She hasn't got the touch or the pace anymore. Not for me, the sad decline of a Nicholas Anelka. Quit at the top of your form, leave them begging for more. And so that's what I'm doing, hand over the Orban sceptre to Liz, who will wear the mantle with pride and rule over things European with a Polish twist. I'm sure you're all eager to hear about my career, aren't you? And you'll want to know how I got to be in this dream job. Well, as a small child in the Royal Borough, all those years ago, my nanny asked me what I wanted to be. Didn't really have a nanny, meant to laugh at that. My nanny asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and rather prophetically I replied that I wanted to be a senior European advisor. How so, she said, the EU hasn't even been created yet. And things aren't going well for us in the Second World War. But I wasn't to be put off by mere details like that. And when I went to school, I told them again I wanted to be a senior European advisor. Why aim so high, they said. Why not become an astrophysicist or a neurosurgeon or something even easier like a director of place? Oh, he's not here. What a shame. Director of place. It's like a fish shop. But I was not to be deterred, and how grateful I am I stuck to my guns. But let's go back a step, because I didn't just walk into this dream job. Oh no. After graduating from my Mickey Mouse Polytechnic, same one you went to, Steve, I worked 5 years in the NHS in operational research, which was a troubleshooting team. I remember one of the first jobs I had there was trying to reduce outpatient waiting times at the old Birmingham General Hospital. And as I sat there with my clipboard monitoring waiting times for people at the rectal clinic. I said to myself, well, you've really started at the bottom. Hey, panto humour is alive. But it was an enjoyable time, and I stayed there till privatisation loomed, and I saw a job being advertised here at Coventry as a management auditor in City Treasurers. Dave Little was the manager, so he's the one, if you want to blame, and he set on the good doctor, Trevor Hartley, and me on the same day. What a red letter day that was for the council. The dream team. Dave was known to like a bit of a drink. Trevor in those far-off days was slightly more red-haired, and Gavin on the team had a bit of a... So we were known as Binge, Ginge and Fringe. I innocently called myself something which rhymed and began with M. Until it was pointed out to me that maybe I shouldn't. Dave Little was incredibly clever, wasn't he? And I never understood a word he said. This was back in the days when audits were handwritten, passed to the typing pool, returned several days later riddled with errors, then put back in for correction. And there was one computer in the whole council, I think. And of course we had graduate trainees who moved around the council doing one-year stints in different teams. What talent, what promise they showed. Sadly, I only ever worked with the likes of Louise, Spike, Gavin the Cat MacArthur, Cooper Woman, John Betts and Jockey Bar, and some gawky lad called Chris West. I fear nothing came of any of them. But they were good for one thing, the Christmas panto. Every year the staff would write and deliver sketches mocking their ineffectual managers, and the ineffectual managers would get their own back with sketches deriding the downtrodden minions. Happy days. And the audit division was part of the fiefdom of the Iron Chancellor Peter Caudle. I'm sorry, he's not here, is he? No. Peter tried to stop me escaping back in 1989. I made a dash for the border, but was caught in his searchlights and thrown into the slammer for 24 years hard labour. But I don't bear a grudge. It was all for the best, I'm sure. It was in those days that I served as a trade union rep with my militant sisters and brothers. How I enjoyed taking up the cudgels on behalf of the wronged and downtrodden. Grappling with Robin Verso in our regular management meetings. I finally hung up my militant boots when I had to defend one particular employee. I thought they'd only slightly overstepped the mark by booking taxis to the council's account to go from their home to Hillfields to exchange packages in the backs of cars, while they were supposedly off sick. Something and nothing, really. But that's not how the unreasonable managers saw it. A huge miscarriage of justice. And after 5 years in audit, David Taylor, the Silver Fox, gave me my big break in Europe and a chance to work alongside Liz, and we've been conjoined ever since. David Taylor was equally as clever as Dave Little, or so he told me. He'd been my tutor in the latter stages of my Sit for Accountancy project when Michael Allsop could cope no longer and resigned from the task with a, "If I were you, I'd be panicking." I expect some of you are quite surprised to learn that I'm a chartered accountant. My proudest hour since obtaining my cycling proficiency badge, age 11. But in those days, you qualified for SIPFA by sending off 6 cornflake packet tops and $24.99 for post and packaging. Anyway, when David Taylor left, we fell under the tender mercies of Carl Pearson and his management babes. Carl was yet another intellectual giant, I'm told. I enjoyed our time with the blonde job share manageresses, Rebecca and Paula, who I helpfully deprecated as Tall Miss and Short Miss for ease of identification. And sadly, Short Miss can't be here today, so you won't realise how tall the tall one is. I've also served under Adrian Coles and Andy Williams, both of them born and bred Scousers who chose to support Liverpool as their local team when growing up in the southeast. And then when Carl moved on, and after that long line of managerial Einsteins, we were taken on by David Cockcroft. So that made a change. Wincing there.
He's right here.
Oh, sorry. I meant to cross that bit out.
We can't all be a reincarnation of the original Doctor.
And I think it's true to say that none of those people actually manage me. It's quite surprising that my 25 years with the council there have been only 3 chief executives. More continuity than an Arsenal manager's office. The first was Ian Rocky Roxburgh, with his dazzling charisma. Then came Dame Stella Manzi. Now, she gave the seal of approval to my tacky collection on her first day with the council when she visited our office and declared it to be great fun. She and I were like that. And it was she who begged to be on that mug with me after the Employee of the Year dinner. And even today, when I see her out in Coventry, I always buy a copy of the Big Issue off her. And then last but by no means least, Martin Reeves. When he started, he came round and walked the floor and he said to us that he could look into people's eyes and tell if the fire had gone out. Well, my fire went out years ago, and sadly I fear yours has too, Martin. In my time as European guru, I'm proud of my role in securing over £47.50 a grant. That's the correct figure. Look how we have transformed the city centre with Eurodosh. When I first came into this job, Coventry was going nowhere in the retail stakes. Now, after all that intervention, we sit proudly in 49th position in the country, rightfully holding off those East Midlands shopping giants Peterborough in 50th place, and only narrowly losing out to those retail superstars such as Colchester, Guildford and Exeter. We may not have a House of Fraser or John Lewis, but in my time here I've seen us attract flagship stores such as Poundland, Home Bargains and Primark. My colleagues from Dudley, Solihull and Birmingham often ask what is the secret of our success. I tell them they can keep their Merry Hill, Touchwood and Bullring. We've got the Cathedral Lanes and Lower Precinct. Feel the vibrancy. And only recently, the cherry on the cake when we were judged to be in the top 10 crap towns in the country. Another tremendous accolade. But it's not just the city centre that's been affected by all this Eurodosh. Back in 1988, Coventry City Football Club were merely FA Cup holders and drifting aimlessly at 10th top in Division 1, with just the one miserable old ground to their name. Now they're surging up the 3rd Division, setting records for their attendances in a shiny new stadium. That's not theirs. But my main objective in all this time has been to raise the profile of Coventry and put it on the map. In fact, I think if you look on a 1988 road atlas, you'll see that Coventry does not appear. Who could ever forget the way I stood up to Anne Robinson on The Weakest Link when she said Coventry was a shithole? What you probably don't realise is that we had to have 2 takes of that scene, because in the first scene I said, "You're right, Anne." It looked better the day after the Germans bombed it. But then realising that might be rather career limiting, I asked if we could do a retake, and valiantly protested, saying, "No, no, Anne, we are far more than a toilet stop for tourists on the way to Stratford-on-Avon." And talking of travel, travel, people assume that as Senior European Advisor I must have jetted around Europe, backwards and forwards to Brussels every week. Well, they are right. I've been to some exotic places in my time. Strange sounding names such as Walsall, Stafford, Telford. And of course it was the travel that inspired the collection, because I decided to collect something cheap and nasty from all 12 EU countries, and it just grew. First it had its own display case in the council house, then Broadgate, then West Orchard, but when we moved into the Black Tower, evil Commandant Cockcroft, also known as the Obergruppenführer, decided it should not go back on display, and it's lived in a suitcase for the past 18 months. Today is its last ever appearance, which is a crime against all that's obscene and distasteful. But I hope you will take a small item away. Take more than one, please, because I'm not going to be allowed home with any of them. And think fondly of me when you see that dog licking its bits. So what will I be doing to fill my time when I'm in the twilight home for bewildered European advisors? I'll have more time to concentrate on my media career, daytime quiz shows and my West Brom Supporters Club activities, all things which have been difficult with the unwanted interruptions of the day job. It's a bit of a cliche when people leave work. They say, I won't miss the work, but I will miss the people. Well, what utter bilge. Of course I won't miss the people, but I will miss the photocopier, the free parking, and the office to run my media career from. I'm particularly sad that I won't be around when you all move over to Friargate, as I feel agile working was made for me. But Anne Lucas and Martin Reeves have approached my agent to ask if I'll come back to declare it open, and I think I am free. I'm not at liberty to say any more at this stage, but I think the change of name they're proposing from Friargate to Mindogate will be a touching and permanent tribute to me. So what else will I miss? Not Martin Yardley's threatening to break people's fecking necks. But I have worked with a lot of lovely people. Sadly, none of them could be here today. I will miss the office badinage and sarcasm, and I've made a lot of chums, and a lot of them are here today. And I can honestly say that my time here has contained probably the happiest 25 minutes of my life. You've supported me through life's crises, and you're a great bunch of lads. I'm rather glad the shirt is to be retired after I leave as the suppository of European funding, but as I've said, if anyone can fill my European clogs, it's Liz, and the future's safe in her hands. So it's time for me to hang up my pig's bladder and jester's hat. I can appreciate how upset you all are that I'm going, but life goes on, and just as Man United are managing somehow without Sir Alex, you'll struggle on without the prankster of people's hearts. And I promise not to sit in the stands asking to come back. So, how to sum it all up? Well, in the words of one of Charles Dickens' characters, what larks, eh, pet? What larks? Thank you.
Well, I knew I wasn't the best equipped. I'm sure I will sweat less now knowing you're not on the intranet. And when I asked to do a management diploma, I didn't think they'd give me you to manage, but there you go. So, congratulations, Amanda. A small gift from many people in the room today.
Thank you. I don't know what's in here, but there's better be a lot. Whatever you decide to give to the artefacts, if you can be bothered, then it will be going to the same charity. So please stop and eat this massive buffet and drink them. Well, there must be 2 bottles left, and stay as long as you like. Thank you very much.